Yeah, and you can't do that without mobility,
Mm-mm.
right? So tablets, phones, built-in system, right? Some agencies have MDTs that are inside their public works vehicles that show all of this information.
Mhm.
What's being deployed at this county that you're working on?
Yeah, so this county will end up using, their main concern was that they wanna make sure that their tablets are functional with the GIS system.
Hmm.
So it hasn't necessarily been a problem for this implementer, which has been good. So I think, yeah, they will end up getting mobile access through either an iPad, phone, or just a laptop that's currently in one of their trucks or cars.
Got it. All right. Next question is from Jacob. Have you always worked in EAM? If not, how did you get caught up on EAM functions?
So no, I have not always worked with EAMs. I would say the way to get caught up on how EAM functions is just putting your feet in, just jumping in, relying on not only your superiors that do have experience with it, but also just being adaptable. EAM isn't always going to be a stagnant idea. It's going to continue to evolve. And us being consultants, we're adaptable. We have a bias for action. We're always constantly learning. So being able to do that is going to make sure that you understand the functionality of EAMs, especially as they continue to grow and evolve.
Yeah. And then Thomas asking a great question. You mentioned predictive maintenance. Could you explain what this term is and how it may relate to any EAM system?
Yeah. So one of the core functions of an EAM system is being able to give the end user an ability to be able to predictively maintain and upkeep their assets. So for an asset, it could be like fleet maintenance, whether it's a truck, a car, a van, a tow truck, um, a wire truck that's up in telephone poles,
Hmm.
and repairing wires. Those are all going to have different maintenance schedules on them. With a EAM like CityWorks can allow them to have set schedules of when a notification needs to pop, when a crew needs to go back out to fix something, whether it's a light fixture or a street sign. These all have different maintenance schedules that all need to be put on an overall schedule.
Right.
So predictive maintenance is just going to make sure that you're staying on top of that as a county and you're not always doing reactive workflows. You're doing predictive workflows, so you're staying efficient, you're keeping money tight, rather than reactive. You could end up being late. You could have a light post that's controlling traffic and it could end up going out on you because you weren't predictive enough and it could cause an accident. Like people's lives could be in jeopardy
Yeah.
if stuff like predictive maintenance isn't available to them.
Yeah, and it's also planned maintenance, right? I think there's a difference between predictive and planned. Predictive would be, I would imagine in today's world, AI enables some kind of predictive analytics telling you, hey, because of these weather conditions over the last 2 months, and we were expecting a heat wave, you might want to look at these particular roads. And I know several, pavement management companies that are doing great work on that
Mhm.
front. That's predictive. Planned maintenance is slightly different, where you mentioned fleet, like you have a truck, you know what needs to happen every certain amount of miles or hours put on that equipment to
Mhm.
keep it functioning and, to your point, not have it die during a job.
Mhm.
So predictive versus planned maintenance is extremely important, as opposed to reactive maintenance, which happens, right? Things break,
Yeah.
but well-run asset management, asset-focused organizations have a great plan for keeping up with their not just repairs and maintenance, also the replacement. Because again,
Mhm.
wear and tear, you don't want to keep using the same things. But how do you know when something is about to require replacement completely?
Mhm.
So all of that comes into play. Um, Next question is EAM only for physical assets, or can it be used for digital ones too?
That's a good one. I would say in my experience so far with this county, I don't think we necessarily have too many digital assets. Most of them are going to be for a DOT and DES, so all of it's going to be pretty much physical. Um, I mean, maybe you would consider fiber optic. possibly digital with the fact that it is for internet and such, but other than
Hmm.
that, I don't think there's too much digital ones for at least my project.
Yeah, no, I think when we say EAM, we're really talking about physical assets. I
Yeah.
think digital assets, there's several other ways of doing that. It's not as complicated, really.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, all right, Megan's question: what's more challenging, selecting the right EAM system or preparing your data for it?
In my opinion, I don't think there's going to be too many counties in America right now that are prepared for a EAM implementation. I think these people work 40-hour-a-week jobs. They aren't prepared to be able to sit down for a 3-year period and implement an entire EAM system with the ERP. Um, I would say it's more challenging to have your data always kept up and neat and tidy. I'd say selecting the right EAM system is always going to be part of your job whenever it comes time to implementing a new system. So I think that's always going to happen regardless. Is a county will end up selecting an EA system, hopefully with us the right EAM system. But preparing your data, I think is going to definitely be the most challenging part.
Yeah, because moving from an older system, which, in many cases, to your point, there's not one system.
Mhm,
Some stuff is in Excel sheets, some's in Access databases, some is in a legacy system, some is in a homegrown solution that was built for a specific function. So
mhm,
that's where data analysts and consultants come in the picture, where, you know, translating from that mess to a modern solution is a science and an art because you don't
mhm,
want to bring on garbage data. Um, Especially today, data is everything. You do not want to bring in data that's not accurate, it's not in the right
mhm,
format, that's gonna
mhm,
not make your new systems useful. So
mhm.
really have to think about all of that. Clay's question is, are there security concerns too with homegrown systems built on old database infrastructure?
I think there will always
Yeah.
be concerns whenever it comes to homegrown systems, especially I would say in our case, with it being an older homegrown system, as the cybersphere is always evolving, there's always going to be new ways of cybercrime.
Hmm.
I think it's something that's ever evolving. You're never really going to be ahead of that. There's always going to be somebody who's going to be able to do things that you don't want them to do in your system, and it can be pretty scary. So I think there definitely are security systems, security concerns with homegrown systems.
Yeah, and it's not the system itself, right? It's the overall infrastructure. Like
Mhm,
security is not one thing. It's several things layered on top of each other. So one
mhm,
of the things you need to look at is if you're going to keep a certain homegrown customized system around to do a specific function, you better make sure that A, within the software, it doesn't have any bugs that would break it, but also when it's interfacing with your major systems, major ERP systems, that security protocols are established and followed all the time. When should an organization start thinking about an EAM?
Hmm. You know, AV, you have a lot of experience with this. What do you think would honestly be the the best time for somebody to start thinking about this?
Well, the old saying is there's no real good time to do any of this,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
But I think it's in the sequencing. So why
mhm,
do people do ERP projects that include EAM systems, and sometimes they only do EAM projects that don't
mhm,
include any financial or HR components? I think the biggest reason to do EAM first could be that your existing system is going out of support, or you're being held hostage by a specific vendor saying, "Hey, upgrade to our newest product, or we're going to pull the plug on this," which is, to me, it's not very good business. Um, So I think having an overall strategy for how all of the things fit. I'll give you an example. Another large project we're doing, it's an airport on the West Coast that has, I think, 100 plus different systems overall. And a big part of that, it's an airport, right? Asset
mhm,
management is a huge component of
mhm,
managing an airport. And because their legacy EAM system is being sunset by the vendor, they are they're going to do it. They're going to do financials and EAM in parallel
mhm,
because there are so many dependencies between the two. that have to be taken care of, that you cannot do them separately. So
Mm.
it really depends. Is the consultant answer? It depends on what the situation is. But the stock, like the general recommendation is that you do an overall assessment